A siren wails somewhere in the distance, a drone buzzes overhead like an angry hornet, and I am standing hip-deep in a clay-brown pond yanking 2 weathered cedar boards from a spillway while the HOA president screams at the top of her lungs that I am committing a felony. She shouts that I am opening the ark, whatever that means. The boards slide free with a wet-sucking sound. Water muscles through the chute in a silver sheet, picking up speed as it races downstream. Below us, the HOA's $80,000 decorative stream feature coughs once, then erupts like a soda shake someone dropped on the sidewalk. I watch as lawn gnomes surf past the clubhouse patio on a wave of muddy water. I look over at the county hydrologist standing on the bank with his clipboard. I tell him calmly that he wanted proof I was not hoarding water, so he should check his flow meter now. My name is Victor Ames. I work as a school counselor, keep to myself mostly, went through a divorce a few years back, and I own a 1.6-acre lot at Sagebrush Crest at Coyote Draw. It is the kind of neighborhood where the stucco comes in exactly 3 shades of beige, the gossip spreads faster than wildfire, and the covenants and restrictions read like they were written by someone preparing for war. My backyard holds a seasonal swale and a small earthen dam left over from the 1950s when this land was still part of a working ranch. The dam has 3 cedar boards you can lift to let spring runoff pass through, or you can set them in place to slow the water down so the soil can drink it in deep. The whole setup is completely legal, inspected by the county, and honestly pretty boring to look at. Then Belinda Puit entered my life. She is the HOA president, and her hair looks like it has been shellacked into a helmet to protect against both weather and any form of descent. She calls my little pond Ames Reservoir, saying the name with dramatic emphasis like I am running Lake Mead out of my backyard next to my Traeger grill. The trouble started when the county sent out drought notices to everyone in the development. Belinda discovered a new hobby that summer, and that hobby was playing hydrologist using information she found on Nextdoor. The first fine arrived on expensive letterhead. It claimed I was operating an unauthorized reservoir that was hoarding critical moisture from the community. The fine was $5,000. A week later, another fine showed up. This one was for $1,000, and it cited me for maintaining a non-compliant aquatic tranquility device. The device in question was 3 cattails growing at the edge of my pond. She started trespassing on my property at dawn, carrying a selfie stick and taking photographs of my dam like she had just discovered a cartel tunnel running under the border. Then she mailed me a cease and desist letter printed on blue cardstock with a lotus flower watermark at the top. The letter demanded that I release all waters immediately to the community feature. Her evidence package included drone photos that had been cropped and angled to make my pond look like Hoover Dam, along with complaints about the HOA's own community stream. This stream was a pump-fed rock ribbon that they ran 12 hours a day through Kentucky bluegrass that had no business growing in our climate. Their water bill must have been astronomical, but somehow in Belinda's mind, I was the one starving the neighborhood of precious water. Things went from annoying to criminal pretty quickly. Belinda decided to escalate the situation by organizing what she called a citizen sandbag action. On a Saturday morning, she led a group of volunteers to block my overflow culvert with sandbags. She claimed they were doing this to force me to release the water I was hoarding. The stunt backfired immediately. The blocked culvert caused water to flood my neighbor's vegetable garden and sent a stream running across the community walking path. This happened right as the County Drought Task Force was driving through the neighborhood on a routine inspection. You would think Belinda might have backed down at that point, but instead she doubled down. She called the state water hotline and filed a report claiming I was operating an illegal impoundment and that I was a hostile landowner refusing to cooperate with the community. That phone call triggered a parade of officials showing up at my property. A county hydrologist arrived first, followed by a state watermaster, and then a fish and wildlife officer carrying a clipboard and displaying the kind of patience that only comes from years of dealing with nonsense. The watermaster pulled out my file and started reading through it out loud. He noted the recorded stormwater detention permit, which clearly stated this was not a storage facility. He read off the board height limits, the release windows, and pointed out that everything had been properly signed and stamped by the county years ago. He glanced through Belinda's binder full of screenshots and zoomed in drone photos, and I could see him fighting back laughter. He said they would verify everything with instruments just to be thorough. The team got to work immediately. They planted a flow meter in the channel downstream from my dam and installed a seep gauge in my soil to measure water infiltration. The county hydrologist took the time to explain to everyone gathered that slow detention actually allows more water to soak into the ground, which raises the groundwater table and reduces flash flooding during storms. Belinda was ready with a counter-argument. She pulled out her laptop and launched into a PowerPoint presentation about something she called community moisture equity. She had charts and graphs and even a few pie charts that did not seem to represent anything real. That is when the Fish and Wildlife Officer asked a simple question. He wanted to know why the HOA's decorative stream feature was plumbed straight into the storm drain and appeared to be losing about 2 inches of water every hour through cracked liners. Someone opened the pump house door, and we all got a good look inside. The equipment looked like a water-sucking Rube Goldberg machine, and it was wheezing like a 2-pack-a-day smoker. The numbers started coming back from the monitoring equipment, and they were brutal for Belinda's case. My pond was recharging groundwater exactly as designed. Their decorative stream feature was hemorrhaging water into the storm drain system and evaporating the rest into thin air. I looked at the watermaster and asked him if he wanted a visual demonstration. He nodded and said that would be helpful. I walked over to the spillway and grabbed hold of those cedar boards. I pulled the boards out with all the officials standing there filming on their phones and tablets. The pond seemed to exhale as clear water began threading through the channel, picking up speed as it flowed downhill. The water hit the HOA stream collection box and instantly backflowed through their clogged catch basin. This happened because Belinda's sandbags had diverted everything and created a dam of their own downstream. Water started flowing backward through the system. The clubhouse flagstones transformed into a lazy river right before our eyes. The county hydrologist let out a low whistle. The watermaster started snapping photos of the illegal sandbagging operation and the tampered culvert. Belinda pointed directly at me with a shaking finger and started screeching that this was sabotage, that I had planned this whole thing to embarrass her and destroy community property. The deputy sheriff, who had been standing quietly in the background counting violations on his own notepad, finally spoke up. He told Belinda in a calm voice that she had sabotaged herself. The citations started piling up like wildflowers blooming after a desert rain. False report to state authorities. Unauthorized earthworks on common property. Tampering with stormwater infrastructure. And the final one that made me smile, using common funds to operate an unpermitted water feature during a declared drought emergency. A crowd of neighbors had gathered on the walking path to watch the drama unfold. They stood there watching their HOA dues float by on tiny decorative Adirondack chair rafts that had been part of the stream display. The emergency HOA meeting 3 days later broke attendance records. The vote to remove Belinda Puit as president was not even close. The $50,000 fine the HOA had levied against me for hoarding water was voided on the spot. It was replaced with a restitution order against both the HOA and Belinda personally. She was on the hook for flood damage to my neighbor's property, wasted water during a drought emergency, and the replacement cost of an entire crop of heirloom tomatoes. The county informed the HOA that they were required to decommission the decorative stream feature immediately and replace all the front lawns in the common areas with xeriscaping. The project would be supervised by the same county hydrologist that Belinda had tried to lecture with her PowerPoint. Her community service sentence was the perfect final touch. She would spend her Saturdays filling sandbags for the county's actual flood control program while attending a mandatory seminar with the amazing title of Stormwater 101, It's Not About Your Vibes. When the judge read that sentence out loud in court, Belinda's face turned